So does it make sense and is it fair? I'm joined now by the Labour MP for Birmingham Perry-Barr, Khalid Mehmood, and by Maajid Nawaz from the Quilliam Foundation, himself a former radical Islamist who now campaigns against extremism. A lot of people thinking about profiling will think it's merely sensible. It is sensible, isn't it?
Well, I think, first of all, in acknowledgement that most of the attacks are coming from people that are motivated by a twisted interpretation of Islam, it sounds sensible. The problem is, of course, that like Christianity, Islam or Muslims don't have any one particular ethnicity, age or gender background, and specifically terrorists don't. So if we start profiling looking for Muslims, all we're doing is telling terrorists exactly what we're looking for so they can start training potential suicide bombers not to fit the profile, as they've done on many, many occasions.
That is a reasonable point, isn't it?
No, it isn't. If you look at most of the universities, when there's extremists are being trying to sort of convert these young people into terrorism, they profile them. They look at this issue, they look at people that are the weakest, they look at the people from different backgrounds, and they do that. So the terrorists are already doing profiling.
The terrorists themselves
are
choosing who are the likely
people
candidates.
that they're doing that. And I think it's equally important that we look at it in order to prevent that, because they target people. They specifically look at people, they look at the weakness of the people, they draw them into that, and then they suck them off and produce them.
But that's got nothing to do with it.
No, can I ask you, Khalid, can I ask you, who would you look for? When you're saying we're looking for Muslims, would you look for Adam Gaddan, the American white Al-Qaeda spokesperson in America? Would you look for Muriel Demacoq, who's a Belgian white woman who was the first suicide bomber? Hold on, the first suicide bomber in Iraq was a Belgian white woman. The Black Widows in Chechnya who invaded a theatre in Moscow, who were wearing jeans and T-shirts. Who would you look for? What does a Muslim look like? That's the question.
What the security forces do is build up a picture of people that they think that they need to question. It is, as it was said by Richard Kemp, it's far easier to hold somebody for an hour or so to interview them rather than have them blown up. No, hang on, let me just finish.
What does a Muslim look like?
No, it's not what a Muslim looks like. It's how security services build up a profile of different people. Muslims are across all races and in all religions. We accept that.
So what
the security forces.
Be?
But what gets me, Nawaz, is that people like yourselves, the Quilliam Foundation, who do a lot of work against tackling terrorism, are now acting as apologists.
No,
for that.
This is what. No, let me a very clear question. What would your profile be? What are you looking for?
Jeremy, he's not acting as an apologist.
Jeremy, there's a point here. There's a point here, a serious point here. Because what we do too much for the mainstream of the Muslim community, when it comes to standing up against some of these issues, we don't do that.
Can I just ask you
what we need to do? What we need to do is more of our organisation standing up and tackling these issues.
What profile are you looking for?
I've just told you what the profile is.
You're the security guard. Who are you going to stop? A white man, a black man, an Asian man? Because all have been terrorists. All have been Islamist-inspired.
Would you go so far as to say you should not stop a person who is perhaps wearing unusual clothes, perhaps sweating as he waits to board the plane, perhaps has recently bought his ticket? Because all those things are used to identify people who are potential bombers. Are you saying they also shouldn't be profiled?
What I'm saying very clearly is let's not look for people that look of Middle Eastern origin. Let's not look for people of a specific ethnic, geographic background. The US has already done that. They've listed 15 countries, and importantly, they haven't listed Britain, where most of the transatlantic attacks have come from, or even the Hamburg cell, Germany. They haven't listed any European countries. It just doesn't make sense.
Saudi Arabia, where most of the 9/11 bombers came from.
So the fact is they use Germany and Britain as a source. Richard Reed is a convert. There's a disproportionate amount of converts that are joining these organisations to attack.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Identification. All you're arguing for, surely, is an intelligent approach. To those whom you need to identify to profile.
That's what behaviour patterns. You look for behaviour patterns.
But you're putting words in their mouths. They're not saying we are going automatically to profile anyone who happens to be a Muslim or happens to be an Asian.
Jeremy, it's been said already. What they're saying is the majority of attacks have come from... Absolutely.
And I don't believe the intelligence. The intelligence services are not stupid.
No, the intelligence services aren't stupid.
They're not going to profile anyone.
I don't believe that. I think what the real issue is that the majority of the Muslim community has got to stand up against these sort of organisations in the UK and start condemning and start looking at...
What about the other point that people worry about, which is that if you start introducing this kind of profiling, of the kind of the interpretation which many people will put on it, which you've just articulated quite clearly, once you start doing that, then you start to lose the support of various communities in this country and elsewhere?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think a lot of the people will be much safer if that happens. And secondly, what you're doing is deterring some of those terrorist organizations from taking on some of those risks, because if through profiling you catch one of their people, that is a huge loss to them in terms of the intelligence that is gained by the security services.
I'm really
but also, hang on, let me just finish.
I'm confused. What are you looking for? If you're looking for sweating people, then that occurs in any race, any gender, and any geographic location. What exactly do you mean by profiling? Because you haven't clarified
a clear intelligence-led process where they've built up a database.
Right.
There are all sorts of characteristics, including sweating, including where they've come from, including where they were educated, including what they were doing, what their former jobs was, how often they travel across different parts of the country, what parts of the region in different countries they've been. The profiling is based on all of that. So it isn't just based on the color that you're talking about and the t-shirts they're wearing, all that. It's based on a clear intelligence-led process. And the second point that Jeremy was making, can I just make the second point that Jeremy was making, please? Yeah. The second point that Jeremy was making of disenfranchising communities. I think one thing we've got to do is the Muslim community has got to, like yourselves, getting up and stigmatizing the fact that if you're profiled, there's something bad about you.
Well, the fact is that we're already doing that. We're already standing up and challenging terrorism. I'm trying to find out exactly what new things you're suggesting.
What you're doing is being apologetic.
Well, no, I'm actually trying to protect. I'm actually trying to protect our airports, because if we start saying we're looking for this, Al-Qaeda will do exactly
all right, chaps, I think we'll leave it there, because I think we're in serious want of the details of how this profiling is going to be carried out. But thank you both very much indeed.